Okay, folks, here we are. This is Hacienda-La Puente board meeting, and look at all the people, and there are people outside, and look at this here, and guess what? They're having pizza in that room right over there, okay? So pizza, you gotta go over there, okay? So we're gonna be really happy to be here. Something very unusual.
Please stand. Hands over your heart. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
1.08, report of action taken during closed session. Moved by Mr. Medrano, seconded by Mr. Delatorre to approve litigation settlement and release agreement with special education student OAH, case number 201-906-0006 and 201-907-0391. Passed 5 ayes. 1.04D, moved by Mr. Delatorre, seconded by Mr. Medrano to approve litigation settlement and release agreement with special education student OAH, case number 201-906-0590. Motion passed 5-0. One thing, 09, roll call.
Mr. Duarte?
Present.
Dr. Jones?
Here.
Mr. Kwok?
Present.
Mr. Delatorre?
Present.
Mr. Medrano?
Here.
Mrs. Bowie? Ms. Tran? Dr. Fancher? Ms. Rojas?
Thank you. 1.10, approve the minutes for the special meeting on January 27th, 2020, special meeting on February 3rd, 2020, and regular meeting on February 13th, 2020. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Plott, do I have a second? Second by Mr. Delatorre. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 5-0. 1.11, request to speak on agenda items. A, confirmation of request cards collected from audience members wishing to speak on items on the agenda. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Two, reports and presentations. 2.01, reports, presentations, and announcements. We'll go ahead and turn over to our interim superintendent.
Thank you, Mr. Duarte and board. I would like to begin to ask for the Head Start parent, Ms. Celia Ramirez, to presenting the Head Start monthly report.
Good evening, Board President Anthony Duarte, members, Interim Superintendent Hui, Cabinet, and audience. My name is Celia Ramirez. I have been involved in the Head Start program here at Hacienda-La Puente since 2016. I have recently increased my level of volunteerism within the Policy Council role as an Executive Board parliamentarian. I look forward in the new responsibilities of this position. Both my son and my daughter have attended the program. My son is now in kindergarten at Los Altos Elementary and is doing exceptionally well in his curriculum, which I thank this Head Start program for. My daughter, who is 4 years old, is currently in Nelson full-day Head Start program class and is loving it. The program has truly benefited not only my children, but my family as well. There are so many opportunities for parents to get involved in this program. I only wish more would participate to see what difference their involvement would make for their child, the children, and the program, as well as the community. I would like to thank the entire board and cabinet members for your support of the Head Start program and approving and providing all the classrooms with the 21st century furnishings we got. Yes. I want to share with you that the children were so excited and kept talking about how excited they were getting the new carpet and the furniture in their classrooms. Your support has really made a difference. And on top of that, I also want to acknowledge the district in providing all of our children with the technology of the tablets approved, purchases for the 65-inch interactive display boards that the teaching staff have been using with the variety of academic activities for the students that encourage learning new skills while having fun at the same time. I also want to thank you for investing in our future. As Nelson Mandela once said, children are our greatest treasure. They are our future. Which leads me to our next segment about what is happening in the Head Start. Since last month, our Policy Council has reviewed, revised, and approved PC bylaws last week. Our Policy Council has approved our Head Start continuation refunding application for the Office of Head Start. This is for the budget year 2020 to 2021. The total funded enrollment is 329. Slots for 4,483,776. With all the updates bringing the program into the 21st century, especially with the technology, we will be focusing heavily in data analysis as a week high-quality outcomes for children and families through continuous improvement. The application is pending your approval on March 12, 2020. We need your approvals and signatures in place before it is submitted to the next Office of Head Start. Next month, March 2020, we will be hosting our annual Community Partners Luncheon. This time, the Head Start program shares information with our stakeholders in the community about our successes through data and any challenges that we may seek avenues through partnering services within our community. In addition to yourselves, the Policy Council Executive Board members will be attending this event as well. I look forward in seeing you all there. The Policy Council would like to thank Ms. Bermejo, Principal at Belinda Academy, for her presentation on the dual immersion Spanish program. In addition to the presentation, the Child Development Supervisors provided information to the Council on children's development progress and school readiness for both fall 2019 and winter 2020 for the program as a whole and each one of us of our own child. As I conclude, please accept our Policy Council's open invitation to attend any of our Policy Council meeting. Our next Policy Council meeting will be on March 13, 2020 at 9 a.m. at the Amar Portable. We would love to have you come and visit to see us in action as parents. Thank you for your time. Have a great rest of your evening.
Next, I will start with the student recognition. So, in order to showcase our talent student, a rotation of school have been established to recognize student accomplishment. This evening, we are highlighting the foreign students for their achievement in the area of academic success and pushing personal boundaries to learn new skills and or pursue a unique endeavor. On behalf of the Board of Education, we would like to present each of you a certificate of recognition for your great achievement. Congratulations. We'd like to start with
Sorry, before we move on with the board meeting, if anyone needs translation in Mandarin or Spanish, can you guys raise your hands back? We have translators here, so go please feel free to pick up a headset. So. Okay, thank you. Go ahead and continue.
Thank you. On behalf of the Board of Education, we would like to present each of you a certificate of recognition for your great achievement. Congratulations. We would like to begin with Baldwin Academy, Miss Lilia Picado, Principal. For the senior sex and academic behavior, we would like to leadership recognize Adam Luna, our kindergarten. And has been working hard to make his goal, and he has made too much grow in all areas. We are all very proud of him. Also, would like to invite the mentor TOSA, Miss Fanny Manledes, to the podium. Miss Fanny is a wonderful teacher who has done an amazing job providing support to the students in need. Her consistency in helping our teacher to implement the Tier 2 behavior support have made a great impact to our school community. Thank you very much. Next, under the pushing personal boundary new skill, look not in third grade. Look, having had a successful tri-semester, his positive attitude and hard work have great impact in his academic progress. We are proud of his dedication to his academic success. Congratulations. The next one would be Jaylene Castro, 6th grade. Jaylene is being recognized for being a leader and positive role model to her peer. She worked hard to maintain excellent grade and is involved in student council. Jaylene is also part of Baldwin Science Olympia team. Thank you for being such a great model. I would like to recognize Mario Flores. Mario started the school year very quiet, very quiet. But now confidence expressed his thought and needed using complete sentences. He always participates in group discussions and recognized most of the alphabet letters. Mario takes in his classroom tasks seriously and demonstrates responsibility when completing them. He is an excellent student that tries his very best every day and shown to his citizenship. Congratulations, Conway. Will be Sunset Elementary with the principal, Rosette Home Principal. Academic and behavior, first the district would like to recognize Kelsey Perez, 5th grade. Kelsey maintained a positive attitude and put forth all her efforts in understand concepts and give her struggling with. She is extremely confident yet humble and is willing to assist others who may need help. Kelsey always likes to recognize her mentor, TOSA, Miss Gary Peck. Next will be Ayana Guerrero, 4th grade. Ayana is a dedicated student who is proud of her progress in both class and intervention. Her confidence level have improved when she is a true leader, where she is willing to go out of her way to help her peers to guide them through the problem-solve activities. Congratulations. Next would be Victoria Gonzalez. Victoria dedicates some of her research time to work with students who have special needs. She helps students access their laptop, guide them through their learning. Victoria is extremely patient, reliable, kind, compassionate, and a very exceptional peer model. Congratulations, Victoria. On the next slide, as said, I would like to recognize Evelyn Arjona. Evelyn is an awesome 3-year-old student. She began the school year very shy. She has blossomed tremendously over the past month. Some of her achievements include naming all 26 letters of the alphabet, writing her first name, and drawing with some details. Her Her ability in math has grown as well. Evelyn is able to consistently count up to 40, create pattern and label 7 shapes of accuracy. She is truly a model student, and as she independently follows the classroom routine and school rules. Congratulations, Evelyn. Last but absolutely not least, Sarah Vista Middle School. Student success and the academic student success and behavior the district would like to recognize Amanda Sanchez, 8th grade. Amanda is a true writing in and out of the classroom. She maintains consistency, academic effort, and growth, particularly in math. Amanda is a school ambassador for all Sarah Vista events and guests frequently comment on how polite, respectful, and articulate he is. Congratulations, Amanda. Amanda also would like to recognize his mentor, teacher, Aaron Cantu. His Cantu is not only intervention in the classroom, but also provide advice and support for Amanda to help him the best he can be. It is thanks to a teacher like Mr. Cantu that our students are able to achieve excellence in all, in and out of the classroom. Thank you. Kayla Carrillo, 8th grade. Kayla has in both academic and behavior. She has raised all of the grades to earn 3.5 GPA, and she is a student leader in and out of the classroom. Her teacher consistently praised her positive approach and the critical thinking she demonstrated in class. Congratulations. Next, Vincent Medina, 8th grade. Vincent is a victory scholar. In Sarah Vista Project Lead the Way Band, Spirit Quad, and is a student representative on the district LCAP committee. Vincent's positive outlook at school and ability to work with his peers and adults to make him an exceptional student. Congratulations, Vincent.
Smile. All right. Very good.
Hey, Vikings!
We're in trouble now.
All right.
Next content reported will be the school site improvement PowerPoint for Mr. Hansberger to go to the podium to present it. Mark, are you there? Okay, so
Listening, and broke attention for just a second.
Family and students, you guys are free to leave. Thank you for being here. Congratulations.
Good job, everybody.
think they kind of figured it out, but if there's any community members who want to come inside, there's plenty of chairs now.
Sorry, go ahead.
All seats are open. All seats are open at this time. Just want to share with all of you that all seats are open and we still have a lot in the audience, a lot of empty seats.
All right, Mr. Hansberger?
Now that it's been settled. Good evening. Sorry, I'm a little flustered. Board President, board members, superintendent, cabinet, and audience. So I have the school site improvement presentation, then the bond presentation, and then Cummings will provide their presentation and their updates. So let's start with here. If I can, I do it. Completed projects this month. We completed the exterior painting of Los Robles, floor replacement in some rooms at Wilson High School in preparation for their WASP visit. We also prepared some, I know there's been lots of questions about spending district-wide and the balance of spending and how our monies for projects distributed equitably. I think the board saw these numbers in September, but since there were questions about it, we decided to represent them. So we provided a summary of expenditures year by year, by school and by quad. For the La Puente quad, Los Altos quad, you can see that total, the numbers for La Puente are 27 million, Los Altos quad 34 million, Wilson quad 34 million, and the working quad 32 million. We summarized those and put them in a chart so you can see the percentages. Overall, the balance is fairly even. There is about a 3% difference between La Puente and working quad, but the monies are distributed pretty equitably between the schools. The board's direction and the superintendent's direction over the past 6 or 7 years has been, when we do a project at one site, we replicate those projects at other sites to the best of our ability. There are some things we can't do all the grounds, for instance, at all the schools all at once, but as we carry those out, we try and do one school in each quad. Some of the schools have more, some of the quads have more schools than others, so you can't do that exactly perfectly, but we try to distribute those as evenly as possible. Okay? Projects in progress. We have the battery backup system. We've been trying to schedule a date for that to be put in place. This is the system that will help control power shutdowns at the district and keep service up and running. One of the problems is we're so busy. We need our data system so much that finding a weekend to do it's been difficult. So it's now scheduled for over the spring break, which is the time we aren't interrupting grades or payroll. We want grades to go out and payroll to get issued. So that's a weekend we can do that. We have bottle filling stations going in. You're going to see bottle filling stations a couple of times. Every time we do a project, DSA requires us to update a drinking fountain. So we have to do a bottle filler then. In addition, the board's given us direction to do additional bottle fillers at each site. So you may see things in pictures several times because we're going to continue to change all our drinking fountains out to dual height drinking fountains with bottle fillers. Okay?
Charge, I think, $10 or $20 a month. And the fact that we have this, I think it's fantastic. And I applaud the district for going through that route.
Can I ask also, water filling stations, drinking fountains?
Yes, sir.
I've heard from students that the taste tastes funny. Is it because it's a new drinking fountain? Is it something that it's already been approved? They have a seal. It's safe water for the kids to drink.
Yeah, the water is tested prior to turning the system on. It's sanitized and it's a filtered system. We can check those if you've got specific sites. We can talk about afterwards where people. Okay, we can check those. Typically, my experience is it's less the water than the bottle, because depending on the kind of bottle. But we can check those. We can have the water tested to verify. We have fire alarms in progress. They're finishing up Sparks Middle School and have kind of resolved the questions about details of construction, and they'll be rolling out to the other sites. We have landscaping replacements scheduled for this summer. The schematic designs are done for, I should have updated that, I apologize, La Salette, Sparks Middle, and Workmanell to update the front landscapes there, and those will be done this summer.
I'm very happy to see the one for Sparks Middle School, the landscape.
And I'm going to back up and talk about Sparks Middle School for just a second. So the history of Sparks Middle School landscape was our first experiment with what we call xeriscape, which was an effort to go to low water use landscaping. Native landscaping and drip irrigation systems. We didn't really plan for the amount of foot traffic across there, and the system we put in, there was a lot of damage incurred to it, and we've repaired it 3 or 4 times. It doesn't hold up well, so we're going to convert that to a better system. Okay. Lighting is in progress. Very importantly, you'll see it in 2 places in here. La Puente High School kitchen and pool are on your agenda for award later in the meeting. I'm assuming we'll talk about that more later. Sample classrooms at Nelson are in progress. You'll see some pictures of that later. Will Adult School renovations are in progress. You should see the award of the restrooms in the South Conference Room at the next agenda on the 12th. And as I mentioned, the La Puente High School pool. This is the carpet that was done at Wilson. Painting of Los Robles. And the next report will be in March. And then we're moving on to part 2.
So next one will be the bond project.
I'm going to go relatively quickly because a lot of this overlaps with coming. You've seen the assumed budget numbers and the expenditure plan previously. We believe we're on track to meet the expenditure goals for the first phase of the first issuance. We've gotten 6 more sites, fire alarm DSA approved, and so that work is in process of being contracted out. As the board's aware, when we awarded the contract, it was a unit-based bid, so we can continue to do that work off that existing contract without having to go back out to bid. Phase 4 lighting is in progress. You'll see some pictures in a little bit where they're focusing right now on rooms that they can get in after hours that are retrofits and exterior lighting because they can do that during the school year. More of the interior classroom lighting that's more intrusive will happen over the summer and the break periods. Here's a general update on those. I wish I had nighttime pictures, I apologize. But here are the lighting fixtures that have been installed at Cliss, Los Altos L, and Nelson. From the first phase of projects, you've seen that those make a huge difference at night and the way our schools look at night.
So they're so good, they make everything look like daylight, right?
Yes, sir. And they reduce the energy consumption at the schools. So, we are working with a few neighbors who, because of the new brighter lights, who aren't used to having the bright lights, we're having to make some adjustments at some sites so that we aren't intruding on their homes because we have houses very close to our schools. Bottle filling stations we updated you on previously, but that's also part of the bond work. We have furniture, fixtures, and equipment going into 28 of the interim housing classrooms. So as part of the bond work, we're installing interim housing classrooms. One of the ways that we intend to test the furniture and technology choices is to put that furniture and technology into the 28 interim housing classrooms so that we can make sure that people have a chance to use it and are happy with it before we make permanent choices for the entire bond program. And that will give people a chance to visit those rooms, experiment with the furniture, make sure they're happy with it, and improve our selections for the final choices for technology and furniture. And those will go in the summer. I'm going to skip through these a little quicker because Cummings going to repeat them. We have the first phase schools, Los Altos, Newton, Cedar Lane, Workmanell, Grandview, and Mesa Robles in the first phase, Nelson and Sparks Middle School. This is the demo room that we're doing at Nelson as the next model. You can see kind of the old cabinets and casework that were pulled out. And that's what it looks like after you remove all of those. You get a lot more floor space and room, and with the modular furniture that comes in, the space is more flexible. And this again will give us a chance to try out the colors, fittings, fixtures, so that to see if they work in the way we believe they will. Yes, that's one of the samples so that we can test this in one of the permanent rooms. You'll notice the pendant lights when they come out in this fixture. In this picture, you'll see pendant lights. Removing those pendant lights and putting surface mount makes the whole room feel bigger and more spacious and provides better lighting. The old direct indirect light bounced off the ceiling. As the ceilings got older and needed painting, they didn't reflect light as well. The ceiling mounted lights provide better lighting and consistent lighting throughout the rooms. And that's the bond presentation, and now we'll switch to comments.
I want to say something about the bottle filling stations. I'm very pleased to see that at school sites, putting in multiple stations. It's just one per school. I saw a number of them. That's great.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
And at this time, also the district look into a few sample of the water bottle and what's the no design. And after we kind of narrow down the selection, we'll take it into the board. Maybe that will be the bottle of water that for all of the students. And also, the district also talking about a few competitions. The design of the by quad or by school, I think it's probably by quad. So that will be coming next.
Evening. We also are very proud of that C1 classroom, the demolition. We've been trying out a lot of, we do have one of those. We've seen individuals, not the entire committee in its entirety, but individuals have been presented. We have final approval of workman from GSA. We're ready to start Mason Robles in the next 2 weeks. Bringing in the interim housing there. He's presenting technology pieces and furniture pieces. Making progress. These ones are unchanged, the ones that have red writing. That was approved, DSA approved workman. We met with several architects this week. Having pre-installation of utility meetings, temp power, and water district meetings. And again, with the architect for Sparks. Receiving regular milestone updates of the progress drawings from the architects on the second phase projects. The water company is permitting the on-site fire hydrant for Cedar Lane. Interim housing is going to start, like I said, in the next couple of weeks. Reviewing more furniture for those 28 classrooms. Questions?
I do want to touch base real quickly. We are going out to bid on 3 of the schools in the next week. Workmanell, Los Altos L, and Nelson. Those projects will be advertised for bids for the 21st century in the next week.
Yeah.
The advertisements will happen, so.
My only comments is, or respectful comments, is that we've worked so hard on building collaboration within our school district. We have this 21st century classroom really, I think it's important that we utilize that community the best that we can.
The next would be Dr. Fancher to present the instructional program for the 1920 for all of the school in the district.
These are instructional programs, and I will go fairly quickly because there are 32 slides, and if I spend a minute on each one, we will be here for half an hour. So this will be posted. I also want to mention something that Joe said that it brought to my attention there is an error on one of the slides, and so I was a mistake, but I hope you'll see this here, so let me know which one you can. I tried to I tried to sneak it in. I was gonna try to sneak in the fix, but no chance. So these are report quads, as you know. So we're gonna go through each one for La Puente quad. Here are our schools. And so California Elementary, here are some of the things. One of their highlights is that they have Kids of the Future, of course, and they recruited strongly for their TK class. Nelson, we started their dual immersion this year. So that's one of the elements we have there. Sparks Elementary has a lot going on for the future, and their new pedagogy for the zoning school. Sunset Elementary is new Code of the Future this year, and they are one of the leaders in Project Lead in La Puente, the city. Temple Academy, they UDL, and they transitioned to NPDL, and they also have Code of the Future. Cal Select, CSTEM, but they are also our pilot school for folklorical, and they started mariachi this year. Sparks Middle, they're also part of Project Lead, their dance band, etc., and one of the leaders in having career day. La Puente, this is where it should be dual enrollment with now staff, not dual immersion. I thought they just sneaked something by me that I didn't know, and so you know, things happen. But anyway, that's okay. In the Los Altos quad, here are schools. Just Elementary, they're one of our NPDL schools. They have a TK and a strong student support where they onboard with kids. Of course, Los Altos is dual immersion, STEM, and NPDL, and they have a dance program. Los Molinos, they have keyboarding for music. They started that when we did the VAPA funds several years ago, and they are an NPDL school this year. Los Robles, Code of the Future, and one of the two leader in these schools. Grandview's the other. Palm Elementary, they're NPDL, and they have folklorical as well, and some other activities for students. Newton Middle School, they've got a lot going on there. CSTEM, they're very proud of their speech and debate, and I know that they have worked really hard to coordinate with Los Altos so the kids have something to do when they go to high school as well. And they're also new pedagogies, and in fact presented in Toronto. Orange Grove Middle School, they have a lot going on as well. They are one of the schools to pilot CSTEM this year, and are doing a great job with that. Los Altos High School, as you can see, again, a lot going on, and a group that pushed the speech and debate to grow at Los Altos High School. And they are also one of our CSTEM for high school. Valley Alternative, they also have CTE classes there. Just want to make sure that we know that. And they also were our first school to go to adult ed for their career tech experience classes. In the Wilson Quad, you see the school there. Dixie is joined us with NPDL, Code of the Future, a lot going on there. And they also house Youth Smart Science Center. Brazil Elementary, a lot of CTE experiences going on, journalism and Lego robotics. Wedgeworth, dual immersion, Code of the Future, NPDL. Cedar Lane, they are also Code of the Future, and they also are piloting CSTEM. Their kids are really enjoying that. Cyber Patriots, Taekwondo, and they are also our Korean dual immersion. Mesa, of course, we know their robotics, and of course their choir, two of their famous things they have going on, and they are also an NPDL, they're part of the cohort 1. Glen A. Wilson High School, again, you can see they're our only IB school in the district. A lot of CTE pathways, robotics, FBLA, Working Quad. Baldwin Academy, TK, Code of the Future, and they're new to NPDL this year. Del Val, Code of the Future, and NPDL, they're cohort 1. Wing Lane, TK, and Conga Kids Dance, they have been part of our TILA, Teaching English Learners Through Art, since the grant began. Workman Elementary, TK, Code of the Future, and they're one of our CSTEM, the only 6th grade self-contained group that took it on. And so they're still working through that, but they do after school. And they also have Code of the Future. And they are another one of our project lead that works with this city. Fairburn Academy, as you know, is our performing arts school, but they also have a very robust system that they took on this year, and a lot of activities for kids that you can see grounded around art, but they do have their students. Grandview Academy, that's our other school that has Leader in Me. They have computer science and business studies, and they're also with robotics. Belinda School of Academics, dual immersion Spanish for the future, and STEAM classes. They're really getting to go on all their robotics for their STEAM classes. Sierra Vista, NPDL, they actually presented the first U.S. deep learning lab for NPDL, and they're also coming to feature this year. And I want to highlight the college and career pathway that they have for their students. William Workman High School, they also have a lot going on here. As you can see, they're another school that piloted C-STEM this year with their 9th grade. California Democracy Schools, first right there, Mr. Wright. CTE pathways, and they're also one of our NCDLs. And you can see that they have a performing arts pathway. They have the stagecraft pieces in development, but they are one of the few schools that has a CTE pathway for performing arts. Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Thank you, Doc.
What is Frisbee Buddies?
Well, I am going to assume that it's where they pair up kids together so that older students mentor younger students.
Thank you, Dr. Fincher. And as we have mentioned earlier, the next morning, tomorrow, it will be on the district website, as well as I also asked Dr. Fincher to have a conversation with all of the principals to put all of the program by school on the district, the school website. For parent committee who are looking for the program that it fits for your children, your child, for anything you want, you can search around all of the school as well as in the district website. I would like to thank you for that, Dr. Fincher.
I also want to thank Angela and Yvette who were instrumental in putting the contents of that together.
The next one that this is going to be the very first time that I asked Fiscal to working on one of the number that maybe a lot of you didn't hear that in the past or see all of the number that is most likely that handled by Fiscal and in-house. But I will ask Ms. Strand to present it, and please bear with us when you see all of the numbers. So when you have any other thing and question about that, you can always contact us. Thank you. So this is basically before Mr. O, and I want to introduce that Mr. Barry O. He's the Director of Fiscal Service for Hacienda-La Puente Unified School District. Mr. O has been here with us for a few years. He actually number guys behind all of the numbers. So this is the work of fiscal services. And this week will present the per student expenditure by school over the last 5 years. Thank you.
All right, great. Good evening, everyone. So these are the direct per pupil costs by school site, and we'll show it by quad, and then we'll show it by grade level. So these are the operating costs, and we put it together for the last 5 years. So the operating costs, what are they? It's mainly the following. It's the site and direct personnel costs, so it's all the certificated and classified salaries. All the employee benefits, there's statutory taxes, there's health and welfare, and there's fringe benefits. A lot of materials, books and supplies, as well as services and other operating expenditures. So those are the main categories that make up all the operating costs for every school site out here. So here's the first snapshot here. We have the La Puente and Los Altos quads. Now going back to 2015-16 fiscal year, all the way through 19-20 this year. So we have 7 months of actuals and forecast for the rest of the year, which is mainly the budget. It's the total operating cost divided by the enrollment for each of the schools. So it's the CalPAS enrollment that's used by CDE. So you can see here in the La Puente quad, we have 8 school sites. The costs vary. So if you focus on 19-20, you have Sunset Elementary School at the high at the 2717, Sparks Elementary at 13318, Los Altos, we have 9 schools there, and you can see the high one there is Valley, and the low one is Los Altos Elementary. Wilson Quad, we've got school 6 school sites there. We have Cedar Lane at 14144, and we have Wedgeworth at the low end at 12473. On the Workman Quad, we have 9 school sites. We have Sierra Vista coming in at 16652, and then we have Baldwin at 13421 for 19-20. Here's a different view of it. Now this is sorted. So this is TK through 5, 6. It's sorted high to low. So you can see at the very top, we have Sunset Elementary School at the 2717. At the very bottom, per pupil is Wedgeworth, sitting at 12473. Here's grade levels K through 8 and middle school. K through 8, you see La Salette coming in at 14,083 and Mesa Robles at 13,205. Middle school, you have Sierra Vista coming in at 16,652. On the low end, you have Newton at 13,622. And finally, we have the high schools. So the high schools, we have Valley sitting at 17,598. And then on the low end, we have Los Altos High School, it's 13,513. And that concludes my presentation.
So, I will conclude with the celebration.
Will those numbers be up on the district website?
All of the presentation will be on the district website. So, celebration we have for the condition of learning, Valinda School of Economic Dual Immersion Night. UC Davis System, we have regional symposium in Redland, California. If you look at all of the school that participate in there, I saw Los Altos, I saw Cedar Lane, and all of the other schools right there, Mesa and all of that. Coding, okay, Division B and C for Science Olympia at Rio Hondo, last Saturday. I saw Mr. Watt there, all of the principal, all of Missy Bat, all of the school out there. Look at this. Preschool read aloud. Thank you for instructional division that they have come one day. Last Wednesday, I believe Dr. Fancher and his February 5th and her team came to the preschool to read aloud day for all of the students in the preschool program with the new furniture. Thank you. STEM Robotics Showcase. The middle school, high school, and college robotic team. We have the at works, at guest speakers, at Mausac, the vendor. We have all vendors such as Microsoft, VX, UCLA, USC, all STEM education there, youth science there. I have a picture of Dr. Chang. Thank you, Dr. Chang, for coming too with all of the other. Okay, so planning for the CSCA Professional PD Day for 2020. This will be on Monday, April 6, 2020, and we are planning with CSCA, and you see that, Ms. Linda there, Dr. Tom there with CSCA, there to planning for the PD, and we'll see all of you there on Monday, April 6th. That's going to be the spring break day. This is everything that happened at Sierra Vista. If you're looking career day, no one is alone. The project leads, we have forensic science, dream of our community, La Puente Historical Society, all of the program. And this is one picture, but it shows a lot of things going on at Sierra Vista from the last presentation, the last 2 weeks to now. The college routine reach field trip at CVRA on February 12, 20. All of the Foster and McKinney Vento High School students from 10th grade to 12th grade will visit CVRA. They toured the campus and ate lunch in the dining common area. Lunch sponsored by the Valley Processing and the donor from the community. Well, Belinda coming back. Get all of the robotic team. Wow, look like we are at Legoland, right? So very cloud-like and wonderful. FBOA, the Southern California section competition at Wilson. The 15 boy cat qualify for the state. Compete in 8 categories of at state. 8th place in the Southern section sweepstakes. And thank you to advisor Leo Chang. Rotary Club Speed Contest. There, when you're looking at that, Valerie Moran, Victor Yi, Anna Maria De La Torre, and Yolanda Chen in the picture. And also the contest, for Yolanda Chen won the Rotary Club level competition and go on to the area level. Anna Maria De La Torre came in second place. Congratulations. 2020 Lion Club Student Speaker Contest. You see that on the picture, with all of students participate in the 2020 Lion Club Student Speaker Contest. For the student engagement, student LCAP meeting number 2. Thank you to Student Family Services, multiple department efforts, school services, at CIA department on the Friday, February 7, 2020 at the La Puente Conference Room, 10 middle school, 5 high school with a total of 67 student voice representatives to participate in the LCAP to prepare for the next year plan for the school year 2020-21. CVRA come to the student LCAP as well. Student LCAP, the Central Student LCAP also participate in the CVRA process, and if you look at how engaged all of the students are. We are very proud of all of our students for that. I came by and I cannot say how much I appreciate all of this effort from our students. The trustee input public meeting, you can see that we have multiple meetings from last Tuesday, February 18. We have it at Fairfield, the Wednesday at the 19th at Spark, Wilson on Thursday, Palm on Friday, and the district office on Saturday, on the last Saturday on the 22nd. Save the date, CSA PD Day on April 6th. We are in. Mark your calendar also for the 5th Annual Parent Symposium and the 2nd Annual Teen Summit. It will be on Saturday, March 21, 2020. Please join us. And that is all for me.
Thank you, Ms. Dewey. All right, moving on to item 3, hearings. 3.01A, conduct the second public hearing pursuant to Elections Code Section 10010A2 to receive public testimony on the content of the draft Trustee-Area maps being considered for the district's conversion from an at-large election system to the by-trustee-area election system. We will go ahead and have a short presentation on, I think many of us have seen this before, but for those of you in the audience the first time, that's what we did. Again, we want to make sure we get all the information. So we're going to turn it over.
All right.
Thank you. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Larry Furchon, Corporate Strategies. I heard you wanted one more PowerPoint presentation for the meeting, so I'm happy to provide that for you tonight. As we know, the district is converting its election method from the current at-large method of election to a by-area method of election. So we're going from a situation where all 5 board members are elected by the community at large, regardless of where voters reside, regardless of where the board members reside, to a situation where we have 5 voting areas, 1 board member elected from each area, and only by the voters within each particular area. This doesn't change where kids go to school. It doesn't change the job function of a board member. The board still meets, still makes decisions as a group, and that's not changed. What we're changing is how board members are elected. This slide lays out the process that we're working under the Elections Code. There's very strict rules on all the hearings that we have to hold. So we held 2 pre-map public hearings in January 27th, February 3rd. 2 weeks ago, we held the first post-map public hearing on the maps. Tonight is the second public hearing on the maps, on both the maps and the sequencing of the elections, which we're going to talk about tonight as well. And then it gives the board an opportunity to provide directions on the maps, any changes you want to see to the maps, or the sequencing of the elections that's on the maps. And then on March 12th, we're scheduled for a 3rd and final public hearing on the maps and sequencing, and the board's selection of the map that it would like to use, and its approval of the change in election method, which is a petition to the County Committee on School District Organization. That group would hold a meeting in the district sometime in April or May before voting whether to approve or disapprove of the district's request to change its election method and the map that is selected in time for the November 2020 election. So in addition to these required meetings that we've been holding and will continue to hold, And as Ms. Bowie had in her presentation, we held 5 community input meetings over the course of last week. You can see here where they were, about how many people came to those meetings. We even got some more pictures of the meetings in case you wanted to see more views of them. Mr. Delatorre, you were at all 5, so you know exactly what it looked like. But we had an overview presentation, much like the one that we're having tonight. Large versions of the maps were at tables all around the room for people to gather around, get a closer look at, much like the maps right behind me. Have a conversation among community members. There are facilitators there to kind of write down all the comments that were provided, any of the questions that were provided. Those of us were there to kind of circulate and answer questions as they popped up. There were comments, both written and verbal. Those were all summarized in reports that have been given to the board. So that all is all there. And so we got feedback on the maps, on the sequencing, preferences, likes, dislikes, all that good stuff. We talked about map drawing requirements. So I'll go over this real quick. Just equal number of people, 10% variance between largest and smallest. Compliance with the Federal Voting Rights Act, meaning you can't do anything to inhibit members of protected classes from influencing the elections. The areas have to be contiguous and compact as possible, respecting communities of interest, following man-made and other natural geographic features. Incumbency is an allowable consideration. You can see the Supreme Court case there cited as one of many. And then other local considerations, school sites, school attendance boundaries. This is the district demographics, an overview in terms of total population, 116,506 people. You can see the breakdown by ethnicity, 65% Latino, 10% white, 22% Asian, and you can see the different communities in the map on the left-hand side there. We also have looked at citizen voting age population. So these are folks who are 18 and over and citizens of the United States. So everybody who could register to vote chose to. This would be our universe of folks. You can see here 60% Latino, just under 12% white, and just under 26% Asian. The map on the right-hand side shows areas of increased concentration of Latino citizen voting age population. The darker the red, orange color, the higher the concentration there. And then this map is the same thing for the Asian citizen voting age population. So the darker the blue color, the higher the concentration of Asian citizen voting age population, just so we can see areas where we can create increased influence areas for members of protected classes. So we've released initially 4 maps on February 6th in advance of the February 13th meeting. At the February 13th meeting, there was feedback that led to the creation of 2 additional maps, maps 5 and 6, that are some slight variations on what was originally scenario 1. Those were posted to the website 7 days ago in accordance with the requirements of the elections code. So again, scenario 1, area 1 yellow, 2 is green, 3 is red, 4 is blue, 5 is purple. So you can get a sense of where those are. There's numbers on the maps to help remind yourself what the color coding is. But area 1 is all of Valinda and parts of La Puente. Area 2 is La Puente extending to La Puente High School. Area 3 is kind of the central part of downtown La Puente, extending south of the 60 to a little bit to Halliburton. And then area 4 is that southeastern quadrant, and area 5 is southwestern quadrant extending into the City of Industry area. I want to highlight on the maps, it's been on there, under where it says conceptual trustee areas, it'll say the trustee area number, and then it'll say the year after, 2022 or 2020. And that is based on the maps, how they're currently sequenced for what area would be up for election when. So you can see in map 1, sequence currently that areas 1, 2, and 5 would be up for election in 2022, and in areas 3 and 4 would be up for election in 2020. Just where this comes from is section 10010B of the Elections Code. Talks about the sequencing and that the district shall, or the governing board shall give special consideration to the purposes of the CVRA when deciding the sequencing, and shall take into account the preferences expressed by members of the districts. And so again, that's 10010B of the Elections Code. But I just wanted to highlight that. We've kind of maybe not spent as much time talking about the sequencing in past presentations, but that is on the maps as well. there's any comments on the sequencing or changes to the sequencing, certainly want to hear that from the board tonight in the later item where we are talking about that. Have demographic information. What we see in scenario 1 is we have 4 areas, areas 1, 2, 3, and 5, where a majority of the citizen voting age population is identified as Latino, and one area, area 4, where the majority of the population of citizen voting age is defined as Asian. So again, 4 majority Latino areas, 1 majority Asian citizen voting age population area. And areas 1, 5, and 6 are the ones that have that 4 and 1 split. The other maps, 2, 3, and 4, have 3 majority Latino areas, 1 majority Asian area, and then a plurality Latino area, meaning the Latino population is the largest, but not a majority. So that's one of the distinguishers of scenarios 1, 5, and 6 is the 4th majority Latino area. Something else we've added to the maps that should be on the website in addition to in this presentation. All the school sites are on the maps, but it can be a little hard to tell sometimes where the flag is versus where the name of the school is. So we've put on this chart in each scenario where the school sites are located. Now this isn't the attendance boundaries, this is just where the physical school site is located. And then the number after it is the number of enrolled students on that school site. So when you see at the bottom, it'll tell you how many school sites are in each area and how many students attend those particular school sites. This doesn't tell you that Area 1 has 3,900 students residing in it. This tells you that there are 3,900 students attending the schools that are physically located in Area 1. That is different than telling us how many kids are in each area. So I just want to reiterate that. This is where the school sites are located and how many students attend those school sites, and this is for the 1920 school year. So you can kind of see there's a distribution here of anywhere between 4 school sites in Area 3 up to 10 school sites in Area 5, and then because they are broken out separately on the district CBIDs enrollment, Puente Hills High, Valley Alternative High, and Valley Community Day are all broken out separately. So that does make for more sites, but they are all on one campus, I believe. So just keep that in mind as you look at some of those distributions as well. Okay, map 2, a little bit different than map 1. Area 2 goes a little bit more east to west in this particular scenario. Area 3 shifts down and goes into Hacienda Heights. Area 5 goes further north into La Puente and takes in less of Hacienda Heights. Area 4 shifts over to the east a little bit more, but still in that southeast portion of the district. The sequencing is on the map again, so areas 1 and 3 would be up for election in 2020 under this scenario, and 2, 4, and 5 would be up for election in 2022. Talked about this already in terms of the demographics, but you can see 3 areas, areas 1, 2, and 5, where we have a majority of the residents, citizen voting age population are Latino. So again, in Area 1, that's just 72.29%, 79% in Area 2, and 73% in Area 5. And then in Area 3, which is the plurality area, we're at 47.42%. So a couple percentage points below a majority, but it's still a plurality there. And then Area 4 with 51.73% Latino, Asian citizen voting age population. 51.73% Asian citizen voting age population in Area 4. Distribution of school sites again, anywhere between 6 and 10 school sites per area, anywhere between 2,400 to 4,600 kids on those school sites per area. But again, this is just additional information so you can see the distribution of school sites within those a little bit more clearly. Scenario 3 is a lot like scenario 1, the difference being that Area 5 shifts down in this particular scenario. The purple area doesn't go as far north. The red area, Area 3, goes farther west in this map. Again, a lot of what it's taking in on the western side is City of Industry. Nobody resides there. It's really just on the edges of the district where there's residential neighborhoods that are providing the additional population. But otherwise, this map is very similar to scenario 1. You have, again, 3 majority Latino areas, 1, 2, and 3. a plurality area in Area 5, and a majority Asian area on citizen voting age population in Area 4. I'm kind of speeding up as we go because it becomes more familiar. Sequencing, I forgot to mention on that. The sequencing on this particular map is areas 3 and 4 in 2020 and 1, 2, and 5 in 2022. And then on school sites, anywhere between 5 and 11 school sites, between 2,500 and 4,600 students at those schools, collected school sites within those 5 areas. As you'll recall, scenario 4 is the map that was provided by the attorney who submitted the demand letter to the school district requesting that the district change its method of election from at-large to by area. So this map was drawn by that attorney's demographer. This is a little bit different. Area 1 starts in Valinda, but it doesn't include all of the Valinda community. There's parts of it in Area 3. See, Area 2 is the La Puente area coming through industry down to the 60. And Area 3 is again the La Puente north, or the Valinda area, and the northern part of it coming just across the 60 freeway to grab the population to balance it out. Area 4 in the southeast, Area 5 in the southwest. Sequencing on this one has the areas 3 and 5 currently as the ones that would be up for election in 2020. Talked about this again, the demographics, 3 majority Latino areas, 1 majority Asian area, 1 plurality Latino area, and that's Area 5 in this map. And again, school sites, anywhere between 4 and 10 school sites, anywhere between 2,500 and 4,600 students at those school sites collectively in those areas. So this is the first one that is new to this public hearing, is scenario 5. The difference between this and scenario 1 is the movement of La Puente High School, the campus, from area 2 to area 3. That's really the only change. We just kind of cut across a little bit to grab that population. Oh, it's fancy. If you can kind of see right here, we just grab La Puente High School and bring that into area 3. No population change as a result of that, and that's really the only difference between scenarios 1 and 5. Again, same sequencing of areas 3 and 4 up for election in 2020, and 1, 2, and 5 in 2022. Same demographics as scenario 1 in terms of the majority areas and for members of protected classes. And then the school distribution changes just a little bit because we moved La Puente High School from area 2 to area 3. That's really the only difference here. And then scenario 6 is if we take scenario 5, which is a version of scenario 1, and the other change that we made here was there was feedback that it would be nice to have the Los Altos High School and Newton Middle School campuses in the same voting area. And so those were able to be combined into area 4, the blue area. So we had to shift the blue area out to the west a little bit, and in order to do so we had to shift the purple area east a little bit to kind of balance those populations out. So you can see there's the blue area again comes out a little bit farther, the purple area comes west a little bit farther. In terms of sequencing, areas 3 and 4 in 2020, and 1, 2, and 5 in 2022. Demographics-wise, we end up with 3 Latino majority areas, and 1 that's, we round it, 49.84 in area 5 is almost a majority, and then the area 4, a majority Asian citizen voting age population area at 51.69%. Again, balance of school sites, anywhere between 5 and 9 school sites per area, and between 21 and 100 and 6,600 students at those school sites. With that, certainly open up the public hearing, and then we can talk more about maps under consideration and any changes to either the maps or the sequencing that the board would like to see.
Thank you. Again, the board is going to hold their comments till after the public hearing, and then we'll go ahead and do the same process as we did the last one. So with that, Yeah, they reopened the public hearing. So we'll call up, again, for the public hearing, the time period is extended to 5 minutes. I have some comment cards here, but if you did not submit a comment card, you're still welcome to step up to the podium after to provide public input. Don't feel that if you didn't submit a comment card that you cannot get up and speak. So first up, because she's standing up, we'll go with Cindy Green. Okay, here you go.
Good evening, Mr. Gordy, the interim superintendent, Ms. Bowie, cabinet, audience. My name is Cindy Greena. I am here to reiterate my support for scenario 4, even after seeing the 2 new scenarios. I would like to look at the sequencing, whichever scenario you decide to go with. My personal recommendation would be that you let areas 1 and 3 be sequenced in earlier rather than later, as those are areas that are going to be new and have new representation. And because people's perceptions are their realities, and the perception that I've heard talking to people and going to the public meetings and being out and about is that they're not being listened to. They're okay, yeah, we're going to make this for you, but we're going to make you wait. So then they're not as valued because it's okay, yeah, we're going to do it, but down the line you're going to get your representation. So I think basically we should be letting them get their sequencing done earlier rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, we have Sue Koval. Sue?
Actually, I'm speaking later, so I'll wait.
So you don't want to speak on the maps?
I will after the others.
So this is a public hearing for the maps. So you can speak for the maps now, and then the other comments you can do during public comments.
If you'd let some other people first, after I planned on speaking later, so I will.
Okay.
Unless you don't have more cards.
No, we do. Adriana Quinones.
Good evening, board members, interim superintendent, and audience. My name is Adriana Quinones, resident of Hacienda Heights. Tonight, I'm here to talk about the maps presented by the consultant. Map 1 through 4, map 5 through 6 have not been discussed in detail. Many of us like map number 4 with slight changes. Once the map is selected, the sequence for elections need to be updated. The areas that currently have no representation should have elections first in 2020 and not in 2022. Let's remember that Belinda has never had any representation. We previously have not discussed term limits, but many of us think it's a very important subject. The limit should be 2 terms. The community, the residents, would also like to see a community-based public relations office that can work with family services. It is important to have someone that will include the community by providing information, getting community input. We would also like to go on record to ask that the board ask the superintendent recruitment team to include community input, to also include the HLP movement group, also other groups such as HHIA, the Sai Temple. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next up, we have Suzanne Fredo Hopstock.
Good evening, board and interim superintendent. My name is Suzanne Fredo Hopstock. I'm a longtime resident of Hacienda Heights, a homeowner and a taxpayer. We're here with these trustee districts because your back is up against the wall because we are not in compliance with state law. So this isn't a gift. This should have probably been done just because there is a law on the books. They're up against the wall and it's being done because they have to have it done. It's kind of unconscionable to come up with sequence scenarios for elections for these newly elected trustee districts. To disenfranchise communities that have not had representation can't be. It can't be. It's just disenfranchisement to the X degree. So in looking at the maps, there's a couple of them, especially the last one, I almost chuckle. You got one district with 2 high schools, 2 junior highs, and the new Taj Mahal school that's been proposed. So you got over 6,000 kids, and then you got another trustee area with 2,000 kids. That isn't equitable. I'm not sure what we're trying to accomplish. I mean, I can surmise, but I just won't verbalize it. The trouble here is this board has lost the trust of the community. And we have uncovered a lack of transparency, and that further erodes at trust. So we have a chance to make a positive change in the district. And I really hope that you'll take into consideration what is being said, look beyond your own personal gain or non-gain. I mean, as I look at it, they're Xing you, but you're going to make out pretty good. And yet the people in Belinda and northeastern La Puente are left on their own. So I really think that we need to find some equity and some commonality in this district. And this is a great start. But like I said, this isn't a gift to us. This is mandated by the law, and I think we need to change the perspective of what's going on right now, because this is necessary, but it's not a gift to us. It should have been done a long time ago, and it shouldn't have been done because you guys were served with a letter. So I hope that we'll look at it equitably, and I hope that you'll do away with the sequencing, and whatever district does not have a representative, they need to hold an election. Thank you.
Next, we have Rita Reyes-Acosta.
Good evening, board. One of the issues, I actually echo the same comments from our previous speaker. The map that I tend to favor is scenario 4, except the sequencing. The sequencing in all of the maps is very self-serving and unscrupulous. To leave out an area that we're doing this redistricting for to be represented, leave them unrepresented. This process is to ensure that that area is represented, not to delay the representation until 2022. So the sequencing needs to be changed. It actually translates to being unscrupulous action on behalf of the board to do that. And it's very self-serving, that's how it translates to. Again, you're trying to achieve transparency, this does not do it. And a critical comment that I have is that on all of these maps that were printed out, the font on the sequencing is so small that even a person with 20/20 vision can't even read it correctly. When you make information available to the public, the rule of thumb that the minimum font size should be no smaller than 12-point font to ensure that that information is legible by all the community members. It's appalling to see that that information is encrypted so small. And sequencing is a major issue. And I echo the same comments as the previous speaker, that all of the elections should be held in November 2020 to accurately represent all of the service areas. And another point I'd like to bring out is that at the community meetings that you have held so far, where are the summary minutes to these community meetings to show what the community has voiced their opinion on these areas, because that's the information you need to factor in as making a vote. It's been past boards that have ignored the community's input at the community meetings, and you have swayed the vote completely different and not really represented what the community came out to speak of. So I really encourage and recommend that you take summary meeting minutes and ensure that you reflect your vote in accordance with the community's input. Thank you.
Thank you. Before we go on to our next speaker, we actually do have the community meeting minutes. They can be made available on the website, or are they already on the website?
Ms. Tran?
Okay, so we will post the community minutes. We got a detailed report, all the comments, comment cards, there's copies of the comment cards, and we'll go ahead and put that on the website for you. And really quickly, before we move on to the next speaker as well, so there's a misconception here that the board picked these sequence states. We don't see them until you guys have seen them, and we haven't. None of the board has commented on sequence states. Not once at the last hearing did any board member make a comment on sequence states. These are recommendations from the demographer to the board, and that the board will eventually have input, probably tonight, probably on the 12th, when we adopt the final maps. But these aren't our maps, and they're not our sequence states. So I want to clear up that misconception that we did this to the community, that we're not being transparent. These are the recommendations from the demographer. This is why we have public hearings, to gather community input and input from the board. So I just want to clear that up before we continue. Manuel Costa.
Good evening, board, community. I also favor scenario number 4, but as everybody has already spoken or commented on about the sequencing is something that needs to be changed. And as far as the comment that the board president mentioned about not knowing what's going on, obviously you hired a consultant to do this work and give them instructions what you need to do. So that you don't know or don't have they don't have an expectation of what the board wants as the hiring group, that may not be completely accurate. So when you hire somebody as a consultant, you give them a direction of what you want, and obviously they already have direction of what the sequence, whatever you want to do. So to make that statement is kind of not fair for the rest of us. But the scenario number 4 is something I'd like to see with some corrections and with this different sequencing. The other item I want to discuss was also our new superintendent, or interim superintendent, was not publicly noticed that our previous superintendent had retired. None of the parents know about this, and it's very disconcerting that we don't know about this. Thank you.
Next, we have Monica Posada. Is there a Monica Posada? No? Okay. Next up, we have Eleanor Hahn.
Hello, I'm Eleanor Hahn, and I'm a longtime resident here who is normally in Area 5. Out of the original 4 scenarios, I prefer number 4 with some changes, and what I've done is I've given you a sample of what I really would like to see. And I started off with scenario 3 because 1, Valinda wanted to be together, and 1, 2, and 3 did that. So I wanted to again keep Valinda together, and that unfortunately did not happen in number 4. They were given different instructions. The other thing I wanted to do was to have La Puente have 2 trustees. And the green would have one trustee, but the border would be Hacienda and Nelson. So that small area, instead of being salmon, would be green. The third area, which would be primarily the other half of La Puente, would also include, which looks funny, but it's the City of Industry, which I understand only has about 100 residents. So that hardly affects anybody, no matter which area has it. And then to keep the number of residents there in number 3 at that 23,000 mark, I used the 60 freeway as the borderline across the 3 sections that meet the 60 freeway. The portion that is below the 60 freeway, that salmon, I changed that to blue so that it would be easier for people to know which area they're living in. If they're north of the 60, they know they're in the salmon area. And if they're south, then they know they're in either the blue or purple area. Below the 60 freeway, I also believed in having the division Hacienda Boulevard, because that's the division that we use now between Wilson and Los Altos high schools. And it's easy for people to know which side they're on. That's what they're on right now. The portion that is blue, that is west of Hacienda Boulevard, I would eliminate, and because for one thing, that has Newton and Los Altos separate. And because of the population within the 2 systems, by having it down Hacienda below the 60, then each of the blue and the purple should be approximately 23,000 in population, so that we would have the most equal amount going forward. And also, I believe that because we already have, even though it's by the whole school board, a person in number 4, a person in number 3, and a person in number 2 who already has 2 terms remaining on their election period, that leaves 1 and 3, which should have an election this year, and would make it the most equitable, and I believe it would serve the population here in the school district the best. And the people in La Puente and Belinda would really appreciate having people that are invested in them at the get-go when we start using a trustee system. Thank you very much.
Ms. Hahn, do you have an extra map to go ahead and provide the demographer? Or we can give them one of ours. Because you did a lot of work on this, and we want to make sure that he has.
I don't know, maybe next time we can have an overhead, like old fashioned,
All right. Sue Koval, would you like to speak on the maps?
Good evening, and I just wanted to reiterate that Eleanor did a great job on the map. So I was going to say I liked 4, but she did some adjustments on it, so her map looked really good. But as far as the demographer, you gave us some numbers as to when you got the conceptual trustee areas on here, the policy number. Did you give us a policy number? Why are they different on each map? I don't understand that.
You can explain when you go back up.
Okay, that's number one. What does it mean? And I don't think anybody who even looked at these maps, and I consider myself rather intelligent, that conceptual trustee areas would mean that certain people would get to run again before anybody would fill the Belinda or the La Puente sites. So this further explanation would have been good before this is the second hearing. I guess Saturday was the first time a lot of people heard about what that was for. And I think that we need to fill the empty spots first and not, I disagree that we need to vote for all of the areas at once because we do have two who don't need to be reelected until 2022. So that's my opinion. Thanks.
Thank you. Are there any other community members who wish to speak for the public hearing? Mr. Shaw?
Good evening, Enrique Ochoa, resident of Hacienda Heights, longtime member in the district, and yeah, for many years. Anyways, I think it's important to echo, right, what everyone's been saying so far, right, the importance of the transparency. I wanna just remind us why we're here, right? We're not here just because a letter was served. We're here because for the last 3 decades, community members have been struggling, right, to make the district more equitable, to make the district representative. And so the lawyer comes forward on behalf of community members. Right, so it's not just a demand letter that we're not in compliance, right? I mean, we're not in compliance, but it's the movement that's there, right? Movements are extremely important because movements push laws into action, right? Laws on their own, we know, get ignored all the time, and policy does. So again, there's a movement here, right? This is part of this larger struggling. So number 4, again, I want to reiterate my support for number 4. Number 4, I think, does all that it was it fits all the guidelines. It's compact, it takes into consideration, right, areas that already are existing, communities that already exist. It also is most equitable in the distribution of, right, in the racial breakdown of the population. It's the most equitable one, right? There's 3 plurality Latinos, 1 plurality Asian, and 1 that's majority Latino, but also has significant population of Asians in it, right? That's the one that kind of best represents, I think, the spirit of the law, the spirit of the CRV, whatever the California Voting Rights Act is, CVRA, and the overall Federal Voting Rights Act. Clearly, as everyone's been saying, 1 in 3, right? La Puente, Belinda can't wait. It can't wait, right? This is 5 decades of inequality. It has to be right up front. These are the 2 districts, right? The 2 areas that need to be filled right away. We can't wait 2 more years and prolong our lack of compliance. And we would be still out of compliance, even if there's a plan in place, right? So there's no telling that there still could be a lawsuit if 1 in 3 doesn't go first. The board, again, I want to commend the board, right, and the district for going forward with this, for not contesting it and drawing it out, for seeing that this needs to be done. And so I think we need to call on the board, right, to remember the 50 years of inequality in the district, the 100 years of inequality overall in the area that we're in, and step up and make a decision, even though it might, right, not benefit you personally in your run, right? Your service has been, right, very valuable. You've been doing this service, but now is the time to open it up, right? And so again, I call on you to really think about that, right? With that larger picture there. That's that larger history. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hello, good evening. I'm Gilda Ochoa. District came up through the district, live in La Puente for the last several decades, and it's actually good to hear that as a community we're on the same page, right? I've attended the first 3 meetings, largely in the La Puente area and Belinda, but what I'm hearing tonight is again a resounding kind of sense for MAP 4, and that's the one I've been favoring as well for all the reasons that we've heard, right? It's contiguous, community of interest, it follows the school lines. I'm open also to some alterations that have been articulated here. I also heard, I live in La Puente, downtown La Puente, but I've heard Belinda residents wanting to be included wholly too, so that's fine with me, but I don't want to move the lines too much, right? So want to kind of recommend the work of the community in pushing this forward. I also wanted to echo the suggestion or the idea that we do see the comments that came out, so I'll keep an eye out on that on the webpage. So thank you for getting that, making that transparent. I also would like to hear a bit more about how the voting will go. I know at the next school board meeting you all will vote. Can you give us a sense of what that might look like? What will be the factors that you all will be taking into consideration to be as transparent as possible? Since again, you're hearing from the community, but again, you are in essence voting, hopefully based on what you're hearing, but we want to hear more about that process, if you can share a bit during your open comments. I also want to state that again, areas 1 and 3, the idea behind is that we need to be moving forward for 2020 for the election. And if we wait for areas 1 and 3 until 2022, that does fall outside of the compliance. So I really want to make that point strong, as our collective has already made pretty clear here. So I'm excited. Again, I've remained optimistic. This has been decades in the making, and it's about time. And so we know this doesn't solve all the problems, but at least it gets more of us at the table, greater representation for the idea that not for equality, but for equitability, right? Very different, and it's not been equal, and it certainly hasn't been equitable. So thank you.
Okay, folks, my name is Roy Humphreys, and I'm from Rowland Heights, and I just want to commend you. People are awesome, just terribly awesome. Thank you.
As Mr. Humphreys can attest to, Rowland got the same letter that we got, but they sat on it for a year, and we're taking immediate action for the community.
Thank you.
You better.
You got it.
And they know that as Rowland Heights residents.
Yeah.
Yes, please go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vivian. I'm a parent and graduates and residents, and most of you have seen me. Before I comment on the map, I first want to give a shout out to Miss Wallach from Wedgeworth, because Wedgeworth had an open house tonight where a teacher had to stay till 7:30, and she came straight through. I don't even think she had dinner, but thank you for caring for our school and our community. Regarding the maps, I understand a lot of support for map 4, but I think the big issue for map 4 is it cut out Belinda when everybody and when the people who started this care so much about Belinda's representation, right? Then why have a map that cuts it off? So I think map 4, whether it's map 4 or whatever, need to get adjusted to include Belinda as a whole. Because I do have friends who live in Belinda would like Belinda to be as a whole. I already shared my comments at the last meeting. I kind of feel like it shouldn't be, the line should not be drawn just based on quad, because I worry about just silo the representation, just representing quad. And I understand you guys heard my comment, you replied. But I kind of want to comment about this transparency. I hear a lot of complaints about not being transparent, not getting notified, and whether it's on social media, people complain about that, or in this room, people complain about that. To be honest, I'm kind of confused, and I feel like a lot of people who are complaining outside this room, they have never been to the meeting. If you really care about information and transparency, all the minutes are posted on the website, even if you couldn't come to a meeting, right? And if people who really care about information, they can come to the meeting. And I know a lot of people cannot. Like you can see, I'm one of the very few parents here because with kids at my age, they need to stay home and take care of them at nighttime, right? But what happens, I'm connected with them. So I'm like the representative. I work, I cannot volunteer during the daytime in school. So I volunteer my time right now, twice a month, to come here and I bring the information back. And so are all of you. A lot of you are in the chair room groups, are very active in the chair rooms, very active as a journalist, writing these news articles. You can bring this back to your community about what you hear and what you talk about and create a transparency, right? And I do feel like we need to influence and educate the peers among us. Instead of just complaining and criticizing, maybe get out there to seek for information. Nobody can spoon-fed you. The information is out there if you go look for it and you participate. Just like all of us here. That's why we're here, right? But there are complainers outside that just keep complaining the board's doing a poor job. And some of you guys feel that too. That's why you're here expressing, right? But for those who don't come here and just keep attacking and complain, I don't even think they know what it takes to be on the board, to be in this room every other 2 months from 7 to 11, sometimes close to 12.
Thank you. Yes, sir, please go.
Good evening. This is my first board meeting, so my name is Eugene Fujimoto.
Welcome.
And I just want to tell you just a little bit who I am since I have not met most all of you. I'm a resident of Hacienda Heights. My parents actually moved here in 1955. I tried to get my 96-year-old mom to come this evening, but she said she will work in the yard today. She's too tired. So I hope you have a chance to meet her sometime. But I went to school at Quist Elementary, Newton Junior High when it was called that, and Los Altos High School. So I have long time history in this area. My parents didn't go to college, but I have 2 brothers and a sister, and they really worked hard and put us all through college. And so I'm very proud of that, and proud of the district for preparing us as much as you could at the time. I now have 2 young boys who are going to school at Valinda School, so I feel very invested in what's happening with the district now. But I'm here tonight because I'm concerned about the state of the district. I'm really excited this is happening at this time. One of the indicators to me of the district doing their work well is whether you're preparing kids to go to college. And we all know how important that is for young people to move forward in their lives and to be part of communities. And when I looked at some of the data on the website, the 2017-18 data, which is the most recent from the Student Accountability Report cards, I ran across this data that at Wilson High School in 2017-18, 60% of the graduates who from Wilson High completed the courses that made them eligible to enroll in UCs and CSUs. Similarly, at La Puente High School, 34% of the students were eligible to apply for UC and CSU. And at Workman High School, 24%. So those are gaps of 26% and 36%, which I'm sure you'll agree are really unacceptable in a district to have that kind of gap happening between high schools in the district. So when I was in high school and even in college, I think I may have thought, oh, that's because, you know, there's this rivalry between Hacienda Heights and La Puente all the time. I may have thought, oh, La Puente folks don't care about education, those kids don't work as hard as we do, and now I'm a professor at Cal State Fullerton, and I know how wrong that is. And one of the things I know is that these kinds of inequalities, of which there are many others, I believe, is more structural inequalities. And so this movement that is happening right now is trying to correct part of those structural inequalities. So I really want to emphasize you to think about it in that way, because it's, as other speakers said, it's not going to fix everything, but this is part of the structural inequality that's created that problem historically and to today. So I don't want my kids growing up in that environment, and so that's one of the reasons I'm here today, and I also care about all the other kids in the district as well. So let's see. I think that the way that the district's representation has been done clearly identifies these structural kinds of problems. And so I bring up that data because I think I hear a lot about the perception of inequality, but it's much more than a perception. There's a reality of inequality, right? And inequities, as Ms. Ochoa was saying earlier. So therefore, to me, it's imperative that you listen to this community input and remember why you were elected to represent this community. And when I hear the kinds of unanimity that I'm hearing tonight, I too support MAP 4, and I think it's gives us the best chance to try to create a more of a system of equity and equality. So I hope that you'll again, like others have said, think beyond your personal self-interest as well, but maybe remember why you originally ran for the board, and that is to represent the kids and the community, and I hope you'll remember that as you make your decision. Thank you very much.
Are there any more community members who wish to speak during the public hearing? Yes, please.
My name is Mireya Gutierrez, and I've been a resident of Hacienda Heights since 1987. My kids went to Bixby and Mesa and then Wilson High School. As a single mom raising my two kids, I came from LA, and the reason that I picked Hacienda-La Puente is because of the numbers, the statistical numbers that I found were there was a higher number of kids graduating from high school and transferring over to college. LA Unified School District obviously has their own problems, and that's the reason why I picked the school district. So my kids are adults already, they're on their own, but we are still invested because this is our home. And when we hear about inequality going on, I felt that in LA, and I selfishly moved over here to make sure that my kids got some of the opportunities that the LA kids were not getting. So when I hear that La Puente or Belinda are not getting the same share, that truly upsets me, because it's because of the kids. We're here, all of us are here because of the kids. And I don't care if you make $100,000 or $200,000 a year, or you make $30,000. Everybody should be provided equal share of education, and along with whatever they need to make sure that they graduate equally in Hacienda Heights versus La Puente. It should not be we get more funds in this area versus La Puente. And I am a Hacienda Heights resident for a long time, and I can not participate here, and I have no business being here because my kids already are out and they went to college and they're doing well. But I don't like when I hear inequality, and I will stand up for any kid that doesn't receive the same amount of education that Hacienda Heights is getting. Thank you.
Are there any other community members who wish to speak during the public hearing? Go ahead.
I just have a question, if I may.
Sure.
At the end of the day, once you select the map, if the community is not happy with the map that you selected, can you provide us with options? Because we definitely don't want to go into another lawsuit. Can you tell us how we approach the Board of Education, the County Board of Education, the State Board of Education, help educate us in that process? Because we don't know what to do after the map is selected.
Actually, I don't even know the answer to that one. So if there's no more public comments, we'll go ahead and bring Larry back up. Oh, sorry, there's one more in the back?
Yeah.
There is? Okay.
Hello, my name is Victoria Gomez. Hello, everybody. I would just like to thank all of the community members who are here today for advocating for the youth of our community, the Hacienda-La Puente youth. From the bottom of my heart, as a youth, as a product of this district, I went to schools K through 12. Here, I really would like to say thank you for putting up this fight for us. I just want to say that as we speak for the youth, we try our best to intentionally incorporate the youth in every single type of process. So I wasn't really planning on making a comment, but from my observation that there was no other youth here present making a comment, I decided to take it upon myself to do that, so at least one of us was having a say in the process. So as a youth, I give a formal endorsement of the map number 4. I think that is the most equitable for the community to be represented. I am interested into seeing the adjustments that are provided in the map for, let's say, for example, the area south of the 60 freeway that is still orange, but in the Stimson area, that I think that specifically should be left blue. Using the geographic barriers like the 60 freeway and the Hacienda Boulevard Road are really important, and like somebody else here mentioned tonight, they're convenient for people to know where they're at and how they're being represented in the area. So I think taking those suggestions into consideration are really important. I would like to kind of respond to a comment made by somebody here prior to you, specifically about complainers who are not here today and who cannot participate. I would like to stand up for folks who are not here right now, who might be of a working class demographic, who cannot make it, who might be not able-bodied and unable to make it tonight because this is not an accessible space. To folks who, let's say, do not have access to a car and are not close to a bus stop or something like that, or are not able, physically bodied, to show up tonight. So I would like to defend the honor of those complainants who are not here tonight by saying it might not be the fault of them not wanting to participate, but maybe they are not given the access, the equitable access to be here and to have their voices heard tonight. So yeah, with that being said, thank you. Thank you, I appreciate y'all, and I hope more youth are incorporated into this process.
Thank you for that, and that's why the board made sure that we take input in multiple ways. You can go online, you can submit an email, you can submit it in writing, you can mail in one of your maps. We're taking it in all ways, not just here at these meetings. So any other comments from the public on the public hearing? All right, Larry, back to you. So before we get started, there's a couple questions that I wrote down that the community asked. And we'll go with Adriana's question first on what happens. So we will be doing this process again next year, correct? Because of the redistricting?
Correct. After the census data is released in April of 2021, we'll look at whatever map is adopted and approved and see if those areas are still in balance population-wise or not. If they're not, then we'd have to make adjustments to bring them into balance.
Correct. And then the only thing that comes to my head of what's the remedy the community has if they are unhappy with maps is they have the right to vote. They have the right to vote us out. So if they don't like the decisions we make, just make a decision, they take it to the ballot box and vote us out. Is that correct?
Not if it's our district.
Yes, I mean, the question was the county committee on school district organization. As we mentioned in the presentation, they will hold a public hearing within the district's boundaries. That will be something that is notified by the county. It's the county's meeting. It's their job to let folks know, but I'm sure we'll post it on the district's website as well. It'll be probably in this room.
And then there was a comment on direction. So when the district staff met with our attorneys over the letter and brought in the demographer, I think the only direction you got was comply with the California Voting Rights Act and comply with the Federal Voting Rights Act. And that was pretty much the only direction we got from the district. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Thank you. And then regarding sequences, one of the community members wanted to know why you quoted election code.
Yeah.
And she wanted to know why, if you're quoting election code, why the sequence is different from different maps.
The sequencings on the map are there because they have to be there. So there was at one point in time when you went to this process, you didn't have to put the sequencing on the map until the board adopted it at the last meeting. AB 350 from, I believe it was 2 years ago at this point, requires the sequencing to be on the maps at the time they're first published as a draft, as an option. So just like these maps are out there for public comment, the sequencing is also out there for public comment. I take the feedback on the font size, and I will adjust to my eyes being better than maybe they should be on certain things, and so I will take that feedback and make those legends larger in the future. But it is Elections Code section 10010B that talks about the sequencing and what the board should consider as it makes the decision on sequencing. But the ones that are on the maps currently are there for comment, consideration, and change if the board so desires.
Great. And then the last thing is, somebody asked on how the voting process will happen. Again, because this is our only time we interact with you, I have no idea how we're going to vote on this on the March 12th and how is that process going to work. So if you want to go and explain how the March 12th meeting is going to work and how we vote and come up with a map that the majority of the board supports, I don't think any of us on the board knows how that's going to happen.
Sure. So March 12th, the board will hold another public hearing. If there are additional maps directed to be created tonight, those will be the subject of the public hearing, as well as the 6 maps that are, or those that are still remaining from the 6 maps. You will conclude the public hearing, and there will be an agenda item to adopt a resolution to be submitted to the county committee to change your election method and adopt a map and a sequencing. So a board member would, just like you would with any other action, would make a motion that I approve, or I make a motion to approve resolution X with map Z and the sequencing being A, B, C, and D. And if that...
Can we do all that in one motion?
You certainly could. We could also break it up into... We could break it up separately as well. You could do it all in separate actions. You could do it all at once. But it is just a matter of the board, like you would with any item, making a motion. If there's a second, if there's a majority that are in favor of that, based on the discussion that would occur, that would be how the process goes.
Okay, so what we're going to do is open up to the board for comment. We talked extensively at the last public hearing about 1, 2, 3, and 4. If you have additional comments you want to add to the hearing, you are more than welcome to do so. We do have 2 new maps to make comments on if any board member wishes to. But I will be fair and go down the order of each map, and then allow you guys to say how much you want. So Mario, we'll start with you with map 1.
Thanks. No, I mean, I think I've said my piece in the last meeting, but appreciate it.
First of all, I want to thank everybody that was present during these meetings. I do want to commend Corporate Strategies for being there, very professional. I want to thank all your staff that was there. I really appreciate it. It wasn't in a threatening way. It was just informative. Please, we're here to help you and take any of your concerns into consideration. I know in looking at the maps, we do have some board members that I'm sure I put myself in their shoes.
And really quickly, Mr. Board Member, we're commenting on the
Yes.
maps and changes to the maps. We're not saying
I
what map we
I-
like or dislike.
Okay.
Because then you get a consensus
got
on
it.
there. So we don't
Got
want to
it.
say anything what we like and don't like. Which map we like and don't like. We want to comment on specific maps, and we're starting with map 1.
I thank you for presenting your maps and everything will be taken into consideration.
Mr. Clark?
Just recognizing the hard work into that and amount of data that's there, I'm always going to look at it. I said what I had to say last time in terms of how to divide it and so forth, so I appreciate what you've done as well on the additional work. Thank you.
Dr. Chang, map 1.
Mr.
Chang, we can't hear you.
Yeah, I hear very clearly.
Turn your mic on.
Comment, and I have been trying very hard to try to read those maps and try to figure out, which one is the best and benefit to our students. And everybody knows that the board members are accountable for the students' success. And I'm happy to hear that at least one of the speakers, Mr. Eugene, saying And you are the only person made a comment saying in this way, we want well on that, and that will help our students' success. And I hope you have some data to show that one. And justify what you said. With this one, we can make all the high schools and college rates will be the same. We tried very hard during the report. We try to make every student success. And this is we have worked so hard to do here to make that happen. But I'm so happy to hear that you have this comment, and I hope you can also provide the data to show that one. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have no additional comments on map 1. I just want to thank you and your team for all the community meetings we had. I know by law we're only required to have these public hearing meetings, the 2 pre-map public hearings and the 2 post-map public hearings, and then the adoption of the map. But we appreciate you being out there in the community, taking your inputs, and bringing that to us. So thank you for doing that. And then now we'll move on to map 2. Martin.
Again, I just reiterate what I said in the last meeting we've had, and just thanks for all your hard work on this. Consideration. Thanks.
Mr. Del Torre, map 2. Okay. Clock, map 2.
I agree with you, Mr. Del Torre.
Did anyone get video of that? Dr. Chang. And I have no additional comment on map 2. Map 3, Mr. McDonald. No comment? Mr. Del Torre? No comment, Mr. Block? Dr. Chang? Comment. I have no comment on map 3. Map 4, Mr. McDonald. No comment? Mr. Del Torre, map 4. No comment? Mr. Clock, any additional comments on map 4?
I referenced my previous comments.
Dr. Chang, any comments on map 4? And I have no additional comments on map 4. Now, is the new map, map 5, are there any additional comments from map 5 after looking at it and the changes that were made? Again, all the demographics are the same, so you just move La Puente High School from District 2 to District 3. That was the only change.
Positive 1. I think I like that too. Yeah. Belinda's all encompassed in that one. It's positive. That's all I gotta say.
Thank you, Mr. Madrono. Mr. Del Torre.
It's just looking at area 3, having La Puente High School there, and then Williams really close to the other one.